Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Pageant Sit Down. I'm one of your hosts now, Regina Lena, and I'm so excited for all of you to be here. Yes, I said it, one of your hosts. So let's welcome Liz.
Hi, Regine. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited for my first interview today. Hopefully, I impress.
No pressure, no pressure. There's a few people who are tuned in, and a bunch of them tuned in to your very first episode. Are you excited for your first legitimate interview that is not me?
I am so excited, and I'm also so excited about our guest because I know her personally, and she's so nice. So I can't wait to discuss and kind of get to know her a little bit more and see what's been up with her recently.
100%. So with that, Liz, would you like to introduce our guest?
Of course. So we have Kailey Jackson, a finalist for the Miss Canada World Universal 2022 pageant. Welcome. How are you?
Hi. How are you ladies doing?
Good. How are you?
I am good. Staying busy as always, but I am good.
Perfect. So Kailey, Liz and I both know you because we were a part of the very first Canada Galaxy pageant in 2018 together. But there are some people who are maybe tuned in and don't know who you are. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Kailey and I live in Windsor, Ontario, and I am a registered childhood educator, as well as I'm trying to gear towards social work. So slowly I'm starting to get class by class. I first started out in my life playing travel competitive sports. I still do play my sports, but recently I fell in love with the whole pageant world, and definitely put me outside my comfort zone, but I hands down always find myself suggesting it to almost everybody I meet. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, and I'm very excited to be here.
And we are so excited to have you on the show. I know this is something that we've been talking about for a while, and now that you have a new title, a new division in the Ms. division,
yes,
now is the right time to have you here with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's every pageant I've always done, I've been in the Miss category. And at first when I started pageantry, I didn't know about other categories besides the Miss or younger. I didn't know that there was older categories for certain pageants. So once I started realizing that there was, it just made me that much more excited.
Absolutely.
I know how you feel.
No.
So how have you been? Because I mean, I've seen you as I've judged you for different virtual pageants, but now seeing you going back into in-person pageants, how do you feel? It's so long.
I'm a little nervous, honestly. So the first virtual pageant that I recently did was the Royal Crusader. I was very honored to win that first title ever. And then I just did the Grateful Givers with Jewel, and that was, of course, another amazing year with her. I had learned a little tip for myself was to learn to practice my timing because I wanted to be, of course, authentic and be myself. So I thought, it's 60 seconds. I think I'll be good, but 60 seconds comes really quick. So but yeah, so I'm doing really good. I'm starting to prepare everything, getting my wardrobe and things like that. So I'm really, really looking forward to be in Ottawa in May. So I can't wait.
That's awesome. Speaking of the pageant, we have a couple questions from Instagram, if you don't mind answering. We're wondering, why did you enter the current system that you're in? Kind of tying in with what you were just saying there.
Yeah, of course. So recently I was looking for a new adventure, and I started looking into different pageant systems. This is the second year that this national pageant system is going to be hosting their pageant to represent Canada in the internationals. So I was just looking through like their websites, and I reached out to the director and just asked a few more questions. I was looking into a few other ones, but I just really loved their whole atmosphere, and I like how it kind of intertwined with two different pageants that I had already done. So I did the Miss Canada pageant, and that was personality-based pageant, and we also did like a lot of activities and things like that together. Whereas Canada Galaxy, we still did activities and things like that, and then on stage, I think the biggest difference would be on stage. There's swimsuit for Canada Galaxy, and then for this one that I'm doing, it's a fitness portion instead of swimsuit. And I've never done the fitness portion, so I was kind of interested and wanted to learn more about how to maybe walk or to come up with my own fitness outfit that represents me. So,
oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, it's a really fun category. I've done it myself, so it's very unique, and I kind of like that they're bringing that into more pageants because I think it's really fun. Do you have any idea of what you might want to do on stage or what you might want to wear for active wear?
So I do have like a pair of tennis shoes already, and they're just white tennis shoes. So then that way I can kind of gear towards like specific colors that I want. We are asked to wear like a solid color instead of wearing like multiple patterns or things like that. So I do have an idea for my color. I won't give it away yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, if a lot of people know me, I'm sure they could assume what color I might be gearing towards, but yeah, so I'm really looking forward to it.
So you have to wear, it's so, I've never done fitness, right? In any pageant. So you saying you have to wear sneakers is mind blowing to me. Like
I know. That's like me. I was like, oh, I don't wear heels for this. Okay. I feel like going weird. From like heels to sneakers, I'm like going to be thrown off a bit.
That's what I was just going to say. Like, how are you going to go from heels to flats to heels again? Oh man, good luck.
Thank you.
I'm sure I'm going to do great. Don't worry.
Wait, but Liz, you've done fitness. Do you have any tips for her?
Yeah, it is very different. It feels weird when you're on stage because you make direct contact with the floor when you're wearing running shoes. So I would always recommend to kind of keep your hips moving and to add a little bit of a skip to your walk almost, because it kind of has the effect of heels, but in running shoes. So it's a fun category. It's a good way to show your personality. Easiest thing to do turns in, which is always great. No fear of falling. Well, hopefully you're not running shoes, but yeah, no, it's a good one. I think you'll enjoy it.
Thank you for that tip. I really appreciate it.
I put her on the spot. This is what she's here for. I'm like, hey, let's give them tips.
Should we do another question from Instagram?
Yeah.
Okay. Someone asked, what is your favorite area of competition in any pageant that you've been in?
So I actually have two. I love interview. The interview is hands down my number one. I think it's just so nice to just sit down with people and just have a conversation and be able to share. Just like, I'm a super passionate person about literally anything. So it's really nice to be able to share my passions with other people, even though I get nervous, of course, but eventually once I start sitting down, I start to kind of warm up. So I like interview for sure. And I would say my second is evening wear, which I feel like that's very popular. I just love seeing all the different dresses. And I think evening wear is like a perfect way for people to see not only the different divisions, because I feel like when you're a younger division, you see like a lot of ball gowns and things like that. And then once you start getting to the older divisions, you see more of the like elegance and that kind of thing. Not that the little ones are not elegant, but they're just spunky, right? They love it. So I think evening gown is just a perfect way to see the difference between everybody and see them really shine.
Yeah, for sure.
I love gowns. There's actually a question that just came from YouTube in our live chat. So first off, if you are tuned in, hello, we are here with Kailey Jackson. If you have any questions for her, whether it be pageants, sports, children, you name it, ask away. So Junior Root Beer says, what about pageants brings you the most joy?
I would say the community that happens between all the girls. I think just like a lot of things that I'm passionate about with talking about, say, for example, mental health, there's a stigma on mental health, and there's also a stigma on pageants, I feel. And I think that's what gravitated me and like just kept me so strong with it as well, is because there's so much that people don't see necessarily, and that, like, the behind the scenes, like, for example, when I did my first one, the Miss Canada, my anxiety was super, super high, and I missed my stop taking the train, and it was my first time traveling by myself. So of course it made me like super sick. And with anxiety, my personal anxiety, one of my biggest symptoms is once I get so worked up, I'm out for like at least a day and a half. Like, it's almost like I got the flu. So there was one lady there, actually, she won that year. Her name is Dominique, and she was checking on me and giving me orange juice and just giving me all of the like things that I needed to keep going for that week, because I was there for a week. So it was really hard to kind of just focus and pick myself back up and just enjoy the time. But the sisterhood and everybody that was around me just made it that much easier. And so I think just having those lifetime friendships is just my favorite part of that.
That was a really good question.
Yeah, it was. I really enjoyed that
Junior
question.
Root Beer. I'm taking that down for the next guest.
Yes.
Taking down notes.
I have another one. What you were talking about, maybe this has something to do with it. Do you have a platform or a mission that you want to promote with your title going into the national competition?
Of course. So as I, of course, I'm prepping, so I'm trying to work it in a better form of like formatting it. But over the years of doing pageants, I've noticed at first it was, of course, about mental health, because that's something I'm super passionate about and I'm really involved with. But as the years gone on, I realized that I just personally have so much more to offer. My mom has a chronic rare illness, and so I've went through that. And I apologize to the viewers, trigger warning, but I also am a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, and that is not a easy topic to talk about for anybody. But I would love to be all around just bringing the importance of education about those hard topics, such as mental health, or bringing the awareness to rare diseases, and just in general, just being able to show that we have everyday challenges. We also have very hard challenges that kind of set us back. And maybe sometimes we feel like we get set back a few weeks or a few months, but that doesn't mean that there's not going to be another day to come. So you can always have a new day and a new chance to reach those goals, and to just feel worthy and powerful, and just all around, to just make everybody feel like they are a part of something, because everybody belongs and everybody is worthy. And I would love to see everybody still be here. With recently the suicide that we had unfortunately went through in the pageant world, and also with her family and friends, may she rest in peace. And I hope that we can all come together and have her and her resilient live through all of us now, right? So I think that's like basically my platform. So as you can tell, I'm trying to wean it down a little bit, but I know I will get there. So,
well, first off, thank you for being super vulnerable with not just Liz and I, but our viewers. I know it's not an easy topic to talk about. I mean, I've had guests on this show where they have talked about childhood trauma and how that has affected or molded really their platform. And I think it's people like you who are open and share your story, where someone who's watching right now could be like, oh wow, I also went through something like that. I don't know how to talk about it, but hey, if Kailey can go through it and still blossom at the end of this, I'm not alone. And I think it's huge that you are able, because this is not the first time that you've mentioned it. You've mentioned it in your interviews, and I think as a guest, or not a guest, as a judge, for me, when I heard you say it, I was like, wow, this girl she's resilient, for one, but it's also very powerful for you to hear you say, yes, I've gone through this, but I'm also using what I've gone through to help you. And I think that's amazing.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. That's something that I've always wanted to implement in my pageantry, but I just wasn't ready. And you know what? That's okay, because sometimes we're just not ready yet, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that if anybody ever did want to reach out, I always am full of public resources that if you do need to, reach out for help, I always have them on hand, and I'm willing, obviously, to share them with anybody, of course.
Yeah. That's wonderful that you mentioned that, because a lot of people I feel like a lot of people feel the pressure if something tragic has happened to them or something very emotional, they feel like they need to talk about it in an interview, and that's not always the case. It's lovely to use that with your platform and with your title, but it's time and place, and I'm very grateful that you've used this as your platform and that you're sharing it for those who maybe can't. So yeah, I really love it, and I really appreciate you sharing that.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate you ladies, because if it wasn't for, me joining pageants and getting to know you ladies, I wouldn't be here on the pageant sit down. So I really appreciate you ladies, because it's a perfect platform for, us women to share our stories a little bit more than what we do, in our pageants. So I really appreciate it.
Of course.
Well, we're thankful. And you also mentioned Miss USA, Chesley, like you said, may she rest in peace.
Yes.
And it is very tragic, but if you look on social media and the amount of outpour of love for her, but then also the outpour of stories of people who are also dealing with mental health, it goes to show you that yes, our pageant community is very small, but we've all kind of gone through very similar things, and to know that we can all kind of come together in this time of mourning. Like, yes, we don't know her personally, but don't you feel like you do?
Yeah. I think it was Maria had put that. I think it was Maria. She had put it in. Someone I read one of their posts, and it's like, although I didn't know her personally, she made everyone feel like she did. Everybody did know her personally, and I think that is such a beautiful thing, and something that I wanted to hold for myself as well, because I'm very dynamic. It's not very often that people will conversate with me and they're like, is there anything you haven't been through? Because it's just in general, I just have so much that I have gone through, good and bad. And that is just the main thing that I want to be able to do, is share with everybody and let them know that they're not alone, and that you can still do whatever you want to do as long as you put your mind to it.
Yes. And with that comes another question. Actually, no. There's some comments in the chat. I apologize if people are new here and you're wondering why I'm looking to the side, because it's where my screen's at. So Katie Varnock is in the chat. She says, I loved your evening gown at Canada Galaxy. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Remember vividly. Love it.
Yes.
That was one of my favorite gowns for sure. Like, hands down.
Would you ever rewear it?
I think I would, but honestly, I just love evening gowns so much that I just always want a new one. It's so bad for me to do, but I just can't help myself.
Don't worry, we're all the same. Trust me.
Yeah.
Chanel is also in the chat. She says, such a strong woman. So she's talking about you.
Thank you, Chanel.
And Junior Root Beer. I love your username, by the way, Junior Root Beer. Says, do you think there is room for improvement in the pageant world?
I think that there's always room for improvement in honestly anything you do. As a person, there's always room for improvement, in education, or even, not to get political per se, but like the government systems or like the medical system. Like, there's always room for improvement, which is why we have board of directors and things like that can sit together and just discuss, hey, this is what happens. Because as generations move on, for example, technology, like I didn't get my first cell phone until I was in grade 8, and it didn't even have a thing called texting. So, generations and technology changes and advances. And I think as that advances, of course, there's always going to be room for improvement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Very true. That was a good.
For example,
that was a hard question.
We're doing pageants on virtual.
Yeah.
Like now we're doing pageants virtual, right? So it's kind of like we have improved in that aspect too, right? So
the show must go on, pandemic or not.
Yes.
Exactly.
But okay, first off, junior root beer. Where are you coming up with these questions? Like, send them to us.
I want to know who junior root beer is.
Right? But speaking of questions, Liz, do we have any more from Liz? Is my social media question person now.
Yes. We do. We have one more. What is the biggest lesson pageantry has taught you?
I would say self-worth, which is mixed in with self-confidence. Because, when I first started, I was kind of still putting a mask on. People didn't know how deeply I was hurting and how much pain I was in, even though I started pageants. And I think that if it wasn't partially for pageants, I wouldn't be as confident and as happy as I am within myself. If it wasn't for, joining. And honestly, I was just writing in my essay for Grateful Givers that I honestly can't even remember what had overcame all that anxiety about pressing that send button to start that first pageant. But I'm very glad that I did, because it played a huge role. And when I first started pageantry, I had a really hard time still with comparing myself to all the amazing women that I was meeting. And I would lessen my accomplishments or the things that I had to say offer. And I think that's the biggest thing recently that I've learned. I was just talking about this with Maria as well, that, back when we competed, when she won Miss Canada and we were competing against each other, not that I wanted to admit my flaws, but I was comparing myself to all the women, and it made me step back and not be able to actually enjoy the time and shine within myself. So I've really learned not to compare myself to the other women, because truly everybody is inspiring. Everybody has something unique and something to offer. But that doesn't mean that I'm not unique or I don't have anything to offer as well, right? So I think that's the biggest lesson, even in general, for people, is to try not to compare yourself to other people. Somebody might always have it worse or always have it better, but that doesn't mean or lessen anything that you're going through or that you want to accomplish or anything like that.
Well, you've kind of nailed it on the head with everything that you've been saying, with all your tips and your tricks. But there is a segment on this show, which is 5 tips from a beauty queen. And you've already given us so many, so I hope you have more in you. But what would be your 5 pageant tips for all of those watching us today?
So the first one is always prepare. For example, recently, I thought I didn't have to prepare for that timing of 60 seconds, and I definitely should have. I was like, oh, that's 60 seconds. Okay, let's do interview. So I would say always prepare, even if I know everybody wants to be their authentic self, so just still prepare, even for timing or things like that. Preparation can take a lot of work, but if you continue and prepare ahead of time, it's going to lessen the stressors of things that might come about while you're going on to your journey, or even when you get there. The second one, I would say, I never thought about this, but bringing extra, almost like a sewing kit. So I never thought about it before. Thankfully, I always had my pageant sisters to help me out, but I never thought about it before. And so I would say definitely bringing almost anything you can think of, just bring it, because then at least you have it there if you need it. The third one, of course, was the comparing. I just think that's a huge, huge thing for pageantry, because everybody is just so amazing. So try not to get so worked up in the fact of you can admire them by all means, because I do it, but just make sure that you're admiring yourself too. And I think that's a huge part of pageantry. So I think that was 4, correct? That I did? Or 3? 3, okay. The 4th one, I would say just be yourself. As cliche and as popular as it is just be yourself. You know, sometimes, for example, when I did Canada Galaxy, I got stuck in an elevator before my interview. I was super stressed. And as soon as I just did all my makeup and everything, and as soon as I got out of the elevator, the tears started, and I was like, nope, I'm okay. So just be yourself, because when I went into that interview, I sat down, I was like, I was the one in the elevator, but I'm okay. I'm ready to share with you guys, So I think just letting them know, and there's nothing wrong with saying, oh yeah, I messed up that, if you go on stage, oh, I tripped on my heel, but I'm going to need to go back on. So whatever it works for you, just gather yourself and then keep on going, kind of thing. The 5th one, I would have to say, just enjoy, in the moment, because again, that's kind of another cliche thing that gets thrown around a lot. But recently I have learned how important it is to live in the moment. As I think, Regine, my mom, unfortunately, we had a very serious occurrence with her. And I would just say, if it wasn't for that serious occurrence, I don't think I would have, unfortunately, realized how important it is to just live in that moment. It's so nice to just enjoy it. And then later on, if you're having a hard time, you can debrief and be like, wait, but I was having so much fun. And maybe that will help you and encourage you to keep going, right? So living in the moment is great.
And those were 5 amazing tips. So thank you for that.
You.
One of the tips that you mentioned, having an extra sewing kit is something that you learned from all of your pageant sisters.
Yes.
It brought me back to all the things that I didn't realize that I needed. I remember for Miss Universe, you would think, okay, Regina, this is your last pageant. It's Miss Universe Canada. Why don't you have a steamer on hand? Because I knew someone was going to have a steamer. But then what if someone didn't? Then I would have been screwed.
Yeah. Yeah. I had my red dress that was satin material, I believe. And I bought a steamer on purpose because I was like, if there's a wrinkle or something and I'm not happy, I need to steam it. I'm like, I want to be able to rely on myself first. Mm-hmm. Of course, if something happens, our sisters are great and will help us out. But as long as I have it first, then it's perfect. Because then if somebody else needs it, I can help them out. Yeah. Steamers are great. Exactly. They really are.
And satin's the worst for it, so good for you.
Yes. I was going to say, at Canada Galaxy this year, I brought my steamer and everyone used it. And I was like, what the hell?
I know.
Get your own.
I was running around stealing people's steamers. I was guilty of it. So.
You're taking people's hair curlers.
Yeah, I was doing everything.
The other thing is double-sided tape. I've never realized how much that could be useful. And yeah, it's definitely useful.
Yeah. People underestimate super glue too. That's super glue and scissors. Always forgotten, the most needed of all the things.
Yeah. I was going to say, okay, there's 3 of us beauty queens here now, which I love. So what would be, because we've already talked about it, what would be your number 1 item that you cannot leave the house with before going to pageant week?
Ooh. Myself.
Pick an item. You gotta pick an item.
My sash.
It's good.
Because I feel like that's definitely something that you would need. Because I can always buy all my outfits if I need to or whatever I'm missing. But sash, I can't rebuy that.
True.
That's very true.
Liz, I think I know what you're gonna say. If not you, Katie will know.
The first thing that came to my mind was shoes. Because it did happen to me. That good old Canada Galaxy we all attended. But also a big bottle of hairspray. You'd be surprised how easy your hair falls, and just keep spraying it all day.
Yeah.
But hairspray is good too because you can use it for everything. You can
Multi-purpose.
spray your legs, you can spray your butt, you
Yeah,
can
get that
spray everything.
swimsuit on. Yeah.
Yes. I think for me, I don't know. Like I love the sash idea because yeah, you can't replace your sash. But if
True.
it's a pageant where you don't have your sash, I would say eyelash glue.
Oh, yeah.
Because one, I have used eyelash glue. See, I've used eyelash glue to fix my shoes. I've used it to reapply my eyelashes. When you know when your earrings and a gem pops off, I've used eyelash glue.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say eyelash glue.
That's a good one.
Yeah, no, that's so true. There's so many little things that people just forget, and I think it just comes with experience. Like you're gonna forget it one time, and then after that you'll never forget it again. It will be the first thing on your list when you pack in your bag. So, but yeah,
like your shoes.
Another one is safety pins. Safety pins is a lifesaver.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
Absolutely.
I love how we can just have girl talk. But as I mentioned earlier to all of you who are tuned in, if you have any questions for Kailey, if you have any questions for Liz, if you have any questions for any of us, feel free to leave them in the chat below and we will be more than happy to talk about it.
Kailey, I want to ask you, you mentioned at the top a little bit about your sports. So kind of moving away from pageantry, what kind of sports are you involved in? Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, of course. So I've played baseball all my life, but the other one, actually it's funny because my parents were so determined to at least get us in something outside of school. They didn't care if it was dance or just skating or hockey. They didn't care as long as there was something that we were enjoying outside of school. And me and my brother were put into probably almost every sport, and we quit a lot of them. And broom ball. So my grade 4 teacher, she had noticed that I was playing almost every sport that was allowed at my age in grade 4 for the school itself. And she was like, oh, she gave my parents a broom ball flyer. And a lot of people don't know what that is. A lot of people associate it with curling.
What is broom ball?
Yeah, so a lot of people associate it with curling, but it's actually pretty much exactly like hockey. So the only difference is we have special shoes that we wear, and then it's like an orange ball, probably about this big, and then they have sticks as well. And fun fact is my grandma, she passed away probably about 15 years ago of January, and she actually played broom ball when she was sorry, don't know what happened.
No worries.
She also played broom ball when she was younger. So I have a really old photo of her that I love that she played broom ball in. And so it's the same rules as hockey as well. The nets are also different than what hockey would be because the ball is bigger than a puck. So, but it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Back then, I only had to pay like $75 to play, and then obviously my equipment. So it was much cheaper than hockey as well.
Yeah.
But I love it. I've traveled all over for it. I've played in many national championships. The best part was my World's tournament. So I went, a few years ago was my most recent. So in 2018, I went to Minnesota and I played for Team Japan, which was super fun. I love my team from Japan. And we played against like Australia, France was there, I believe, the USA. There's different countries that were there. And the World's tournament is so much fun because at the big banquet that we host, we get to exchange things with other countries. So it's just a blast. I love broom ball like so much. I could talk about hours with it.
But you're from Canada.
Yeah.
How did you end up on Team Japan?
So kind of like pageantry. Once you kind of start in the sport, everybody kind of knows everybody. One of my really good friends, Amy and Barb, they were both playing for Team Japan before. And so they needed another girl and they had asked me to play. And so I was like, of course, that'll be so much fun. So I joined their team and it was amazing. So much fun. Now I have people that I can go visit in Japan. So it's great.
That's awesome. That's so
You
fun.
confused me.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
Amazing. So we do have more questions from YouTube. Junior Root Beer, first off, they subscribe, so thank you for subscribing to the channel. Let's see. So they ask, what makes the sisterhood stronger?
I would say the rawness. Like, everybody is so authentic and so real with everybody. You know, for example, me sharing my story now with you guys, and you know, you guys knew me back when we did the Canada Galaxy, but now I'm starting to share new things. So I think that just opening up and being honest with everybody and not being afraid to just be ourselves is the best part, because even though, you know, we may be a little funky on the inside, we still all accept each other. And I think that's the best part about it.
100%. And Chantal asks, what would you tell someone who has a negative view of pageantry? These questions are good.
They are so good.
I got this question in my interview at IJM. It scared me, but yeah, go for it.
Wow, don't.
I would say that give it a try. You know what I mean? Like, we're so quick sometimes to maybe put judgment on certain things, and give it a try, or reach out to somebody who's done it and just have an authentic conversation with somebody, and you'll quickly soon to realize that it's totally different than what you see on TV or what you see in movies. And just having that authentic conversation and trusting in that person, I think, will totally change the atmosphere and the thought process of pageantry. Because I know, like, when I first started, I was like, no, like, is this a real thing? You know, I was thinking like toddlers and tiaras. Like, it is not really like that. Like, don't get me wrong, we all get glitzed up and glammed, but at the same time, it's about the behind the scenes that I think would really change that stigma on pageantry for sure.
You got a winner.
I like what I heard.
Yeah,
thank you for that question. Like, these questions are so great.
Yeah. Oh,
well, they heard you say you liked the interview portion of the pageant, so they're just throwing all
they're grilling you now.
Give me more practice. I'm good.
There you go. Well, Melissa Gregory, she's in the chats and she gives you lots of love, lots of hearts. Hearts.
Thank you. I'm giving lots of love back.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I wanted to ask you, Kailey, I correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's a story with you and Maria with her beginning of coaching. Were you her first client?
I was. So kind of going off. Yeah. So kind of going off of what happened when I was said that, like, I was comparing myself to everybody back when she had won, right? And when I came back and I debriefed on my own, I was like, well, this girl knows what she's doing. I'm like, I should reach out to her because I joined for Canada Galaxy. And the other award that I have won before that was Miss Congeniality at the Miss LaSalle pageant in 2016. And by all means, that is the most honorable award, I feel like, because again, it's all your sisters that vote. And I think it's amazing. But I knew that I could do more. And I just didn't quite know how to get there, because I was so new to pageantry. So I was like, okay, Maria knows what she's talking about. She knows something. Like, so I reached out to her and I was like, hey, I'm not sure. Like, honestly, I didn't even know it was a thing for coaching. So I was like, I'm not sure if this is a thing, but would you be willing to coach me and help me and try and bring myself out a little bit more so I'll be able to shine and just share who I am? And she's like, yeah, of course. Like, let's do this. And I got fourth runner up, which was amazing, and I was super shocked. I feel like when I got fourth runner up, I feel like my reaction was exactly the same as if I were to win. So I was super, super proud, and of course, like, I did the work, but she obviously guided me, so I was super thankful for that as well.
That's awesome. So, okay, you won recently, like you said, the Royal Crusader pageant.
Yeah.
What was that like to win one? It was virtual, so what was it like when you got the news?
Honestly, I wasn't expecting it at all. But then I also, thinking back, like, I felt really, really good about my videos, and I felt really, really good about my interview. And I think the reason being is because I finally was able to share, like, my actual why, my purpose, because I was hiding a little bit of piece of me, and because I just wasn't ready yet, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just wasn't ready, and I think with the Royal Crusader, being able to just be myself finally, I was like, yes, like, I'm on top of the world. So when my name got called for the winner, I was in shock. Like, I had to give myself a moment to, like, put my camera on, because I was like, I feel like I'm just gonna bawl my eyes out. So I was just super overwhelmed with every emotion you could ever think of. But it was amazing. It really was.
Well, you did
actually,
amazing.
me and Christina are working up a little surprise, so I'm very excited to share that.
Ooh, I love your crown, by the way. I love the crown that she sent you.
Thank you. Yeah, she said it looked like it reminds her of like a Sailor Moon vibe, like that kind of thing. I was like, yes, like, I love Sailor Moon. So yeah, I really enjoyed that pageant for sure. And then the Grateful Givers, my favorite part was the essay, because I find I've been working really hard on, like, my vocabulary and trying to write and things like that, and so I love the essay part of the Grateful Givers for sure. These virtual pageants, people that are watching, if you're interested, join them, because you will see and get, like, a big taste of what it's like and the behind the scenes. Or if you're a woman, or even if there's, like, men, like, I think right now there's one, I think it's the Inspiration one, and they're accepting all ages, all genders. So if you're interested, definitely give it a shot. If you think there's, you're questioning pageantry, give it a shot, because it will open your eyes a little bit to our world.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
The Royal Crusaders pageant is actually also open to men and women.
Yes,
all genders. Yeah. Yes, so it's a good one to. That pageant actually came from this show. Just gonna put it out there.
Yeah. I think Christina was sharing that with us, I believe, when we first started and things like that. It was put out there a few times. I was like, that's awesome.
Yes, a lot of people like to manifest on the show. Liz has done it many times. Christina's done it many times. So I'm gonna ask you now, if you could have any title in the world of pageantry, what would it be?
That is a tough question, because honestly, at this very moment, I would definitely say, because there's a few different titles with the pageant that I'm doing now that you have an opportunity to win. But I personally would like to do the overall Miss Canada World Universal. I just think in general, being able to represent not only my city, but my country, and just in general share my purpose and my why, I think would just be amazing. And I love right now, this year, their focus is on be authentic and be you, and as well as mental health. So it kind of all falls into place with everything that I'm trying to do. And I think that would just be the ultimate prize for me, because it just fits right in, my why and everything. So
love that. I was gonna say, as you were saying that, I'm like, this sounds exactly like what you were just saying.
I know. I feel like I've been repeating myself a little bit here, but
no. But okay. I mean, like, everything that you've mentioned about yourself, like, be you, be authentic, mental health,
like it all goes
literally
together.
The perfect pageant for you.
I know. I was so excited about it. Like, when I first started looking into things, and then when I did my interview to get accepted, and I was just like, yes, like this is where I'm supposed to be right now. Like those aha moments, I got it after my interview, and I was so excited.
That's amazing.
That's so important. Like finding a pageant that aligns with your values and who you are as a person is my biggest tip for people when they're doing pageants, because you know, the chances of you winning a pageant that doesn't align with anything that you're about is slim. And if you do win, you might not enjoy the experience as much as if you're holding a title that you really value and you were really excited about the mission. So I'm really happy that you found something that works really well for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, Liz, you actually answered a question from YouTube.
Okay. Sorry.
It's okay. Chantal asks, how do you decide what pageant is a good fit for you to compete in?
So I would say like there's a lot of different aspects to that. So, you know, you can go as small, like if it is your first pageant, maybe you do want to try like one of the virtual ones that are going around right now, or, you know, maybe you want to go a little further than that. One of the big jokes that I've had is people always ask me like, oh, what was your first pageant? And I tell them the Miss Canada one, and they're like, you went national right away? Like, I didn't know. Like, I didn't know to like look in to see what was out there. I met the reigning queen for Miss Canada that year. And so that was all I knew. So I just applied. So doing your research is really going to help you, because if you want to just start off small, there's tons of virtual pageants. And then it goes from that to local pageants. For example, here in Windsor, we have the Miss Tecumseh pageant that still happens. So that's still locally. And those are ones that are going to keep your costs down as well. As much as we can get sponsors and things like that, it can keep your costs down if you're doing virtual or something that might be a little more local for you instead of the traveling. So I would look into that first. And then if you do want to challenge yourself a little bit more, there's tons of national pageants. So it's all a matter of what you'll feel it when you're like, oh, I really like this. And you keep feeling yourself saying, oh, I really like that. Then maybe that's a pageant for you. And I would just say, hit the send button, and maybe you'll start feeling like I did.
Exactly. And one last question before we start to wrap things up. This hour has flown by. Milicia says, I joined a little late, but what exactly is the Miss World Universal pageant? Okay,
so welcome, first of all, to the Miss World Universal pageant for the sisterhood. And I think to answer your question general, I am new to the system as well, so I don't have all the answers per se. So if you do have specific questions, I would definitely reach out to our director, or I think she's like the right-hand man type thing to the director. I'm not sure of the proper title. I know her name is Gasoline, so you can reach out to her. And then I would say for the main thing is our pageant, it's from May 11th to May 15th in Ottawa, and we do a lot of activities throughout the week. We also have like a pajama party, which is super fun. I did it with Canada Galaxy, so that's looking forward to that. And then the nice thing about this pageant is we don't have so much on stage stuff. Like we have our evening gown, our fitness wear, and we have our opening number. So we have a few little things that are different than other pageants, but that's like our main portion. And then of course interview and things like that, right? But the activities are great for us to kind of start feeling comfortable. If this is your first pageant, then I think that's going to be maybe your favorite part, because it's just going to make you feel more at home and comfortable because you're going to be with all of us. So
that's a great answer. Earlier you mentioned that there are different titles that could be won. So what are some of those titles?
So the overall, I believe, is that's the Ms. Canada World Universal. And then, so that would be the overall score. So whoever gets the highest score. There's also the elite. so that I believe it's 40 and over, if I'm not mistaken. And then there is the ambassador title. Excuse me, because I don't know the entire name of it. I'm assuming it's Miss Canada. I think it's World Universal Ambassador for that one. So that one is chosen basically that evolves around like their values and the things that they're trying to strive for. I believe there is one more that I am missing. I think there's 4 or 5 titles altogether that you could possibly come out with.
That's awesome.
Wow.
So it gives you a chance. So I guess for those who are wondering or curious about the pageant, the best thing to do is to go online and check out. I know they're very active on Instagram. Check out their Instagram, their Facebook. Check it all out. Kailey, where can people find you online if they wanted to follow your journey to the crown?
Of course. So I have a public Facebook page right now, and it's Kailey, Kaileyj, because that's my first letter of my last name. And then it just says dash Ms.Canada World Universal Finalist. And I believe it says 2022. But you should be generally be able to find it once you look up some of those main words. And then I also have, I don't mind if you follow me on Instagram. It is Kailey Jackson 09. And then that's my main pages. Like I keep my Facebook generally to friends and family and people that I've met throughout the years. But I have my public page that everybody could follow me on there.
Perfect. So make sure all of you follow her after today's interview. Kailey, before we say goodbye, is there any last things that you'd like to share with our viewers watching?
I would just like to say thank you, first of all, for tuning in. And if you are watching this later, I really appreciate it. And just remember that you're not alone and that you're worthy. And somebody is always thinking of you. So don't be afraid to reach out.
And that's really sweet. Liz, before we say goodbye, where can people find you online?
You can find me in a lot of places. You can find me at Elizabeth Murdoch Pageantry on Instagram. That's where I kind of house all my pageant journey stuff. My current title is the 2021 IGM Canada Miss. So you can follow me at IAM_IJM Canada Miss. There, you can also follow my pageant hair and makeup account at Elizabeth Murdoch Artistry. You can find me basically everywhere. So those are the main ones. Send me a follow.
Perfect. And to all of you who are tuned in, thank you so much for joining us. Yes, there's a new pageant sit down in 2022. Like I mentioned in our previous episode, we will be going live every 2 weeks. So we won't see you next week, but we'll see you the week after on Wednesday. If you enjoyed this video and this interview, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you like all things pageantry, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Liz, thank you for doing this interview with us. Your first one.
I had so much fun.
Kailey, thank you so much for sharing your story with us, being resilient, being vulnerable first and foremost, and just being your authentic self. So thank you for joining Liz and I today.
Thank you for having me. It was so great to catch up with you ladies, and I really appreciate it. Thank you to the viewers, of course, and I agree with Machine. Hit the subscribe button if you're interested.
Yes. And to everyone, like I mentioned earlier, we will all see you in 2 weeks. See you then. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.